So Google TV DevRel office hours, and we are a bunch of stuff has happened. Probably the most important is the 2.1 update went out. So let me talk a little bit about that, and then we'll answer questions. So the first, in my view, the most important thing is HLS works. So if you're sending media, it will work. The other thing is hardware acceleration turned on. So in the past, it did not ever, well, there were points during development it was turned on, but it's definitely turned on now, and some apps are seeing bugs. Other thing is there's some other attributes in the content provider you can now get the information for what cable provider is there, and also has the TMS identifier for each channel. So that if you license information from Tribune, you'll now be able to get that.
Les, on that particular point, is the documentation been updated on that?
I haven't looked yet, but I asked for it to be updated by yesterday.
Okay.
And so we hope the documentation is going to be updated. But I haven't seen the bug come through saying it's been fixed.
Okay.
Okay.
So that'll be on your website, because originally it was included in the SDK, right?
Right. It should be on the website, and it should be there. And okay. Let's see what else.
So sorry, just back on that point. So in terms of the TMS ID for each channel, so okay, that just gives you the channel information. That still doesn't give you information on what's currently playing or what the user is watching, right?
Say again?
In terms of the TMS ID you mentioned,
yes,
that is really that's the channel information. It doesn't tell you anything about any programming or what the user is watching.
That's right.
Okay.
But with that identifier, you can license with Tribune, and you get information about the programming.
Okay.
And that's how it works for now. The other thing you should know is that if you set min SDK to 13, then your app will only go to the update. Because this is Honeycomb 3.2, and the other one is 3.1, and there are still Logitech reviews out there that haven't updated.
That's me.
Yeah, okay. So that's basically what I can remember that's new.
What's the question?
I was talking about the 2.1 update.
Hardware acceleration.
Yeah, hardware acceleration is now valid. HLS and the content provider, the channel listing content provider.
That rolled out when?
Monday night at 11.
The animations are much smoother now because of hardware acceleration.
Yeah, so check it out. You'll find a lot of things go better. I updated all the M4s on Tuesday morning, and if you have an M4, and all the Sony boxes should be updated by the end of the day tomorrow, and the review is sometime in the future.
So by that you mean could be as long as it took last time?
I'm I'm not even going to answer that. I'm sorry.
Hey, it came by Christmas. That wasn't so bad.
Yeah. It may be as long as last time. It may be shorter. It may be longer. So I've given you all the possibilities.
Okay.
But it will come.
Okay. So yesterday, the tweet that went out made a particular point about Chrome. So I'm assuming that it's mostly about the acceleration. There isn't anything else about Chrome that's improved or better?
You know, I don't know what's happened with Chrome. I don't really follow Chrome. And
I think Sean.
yeah, so Mega will ask Sean. By the way, the crew has gotten bigger. Joel, who does our QA, and Bhavya and Mega.
Hi.
Hi.
Howdy.
All right. So who wants to? I guess we've started the questions. So Christian is joining us too with breakfast.
Breakfast of champions or something like
Yeah.
that. Breakfast for lunch.
Christian, do you know anything more about 2.1 besides hardware acceleration, content provider, and HLS and Chrome? What by Chrome changed?
Well, I think not much about Chrome changed. It's still the same version.
No, they tweeted something different.
Did they? Okay, then I'm out of the loop.
They redid the settings page. They incorporated, I guess they cleaned it up basically.
Okay.
From what I've noticed in the canary version instead of the stable Chrome one.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right. We may get more from Sean if he pops in.
So the other thing is, did you mention hardware acceleration?
I did.
Okay.
And
That's all I care.
the reason everyone in the room talks about hardware acceleration one more time is test it. We're seeing folks who turned it on, hoping for the best, and their apps break. So it's always important to check out hardware acceleration. But it is showing some real wins. So,
So in terms of this update, are we going to expect similar short-term updates before the big one that was announced for the end of the year?
what big one was announced for the end of the year?
So somebody said, and I think this was at CS, somebody said that there was a big one planned for the end of the year, a major update.
There will be a couple. There will be some things before that. Whether you consider that a huge update or not, but there will be some updates.
Okay.
Beyond that, I won't speculate. And I would say most of the updates, there's going to be some feature updates, but most things are going to be related to apps for the short term, and also for getting them on new platforms. So bringing up boxes.
Basically, 2011 is really more about the new Marvell/ARM platform.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going through that as well.
So Leon's asked a bunch of questions. Let's go ask somebody else. If I can find my cursor. Okay, here we are. There we are. All right. So let's start with Will. You were starting to ask about looking for some Google. Oh, okay. So you're. Yeah, actually, you should just post that to the question list rather than here, because only the people who are actually on the chat, and so far it's basically two of them are us and Leon and John. I've invited 10 people.
Yeah, I know some other people who said they wanted to join, so I hope we get some more people.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be too...
I didn't want to be too spammy. That's just why I don't know if that's appropriate for this Hangout, but I have a feature list that's really long right now, and I could use some good help. So if you want to do some side work, let me know.
Yeah. There was somebody looking for it who posted on one of my links before. It was Bradley Gogatz.
Okay, I'll look for him.
I don't, he's written to me before, but I don't know him or his work.
Gotcha.
I'm sure that my comment will get me feedback, however.
I appreciate that.
Okay. But that's is there. Let's see. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
About, this might be just my stupidity, but in my app I cannot put tags or keywords into the description page on my app for the market. Is that something that I'm just missing, or is there going to be tags that we're going to be able to add soon, or I just put keywords in my description, which is kind of clunky, and I don't know if that's something that would be frowned upon, but I'm trying to get as much attraction as I can to it.
Oh, we reviewed your app, and I'm not sure why it hasn't been featured yet. What's somebody else say?
Is it social media?
Yeah.
Yeah, updated the UI and it's much original. I added this to today's.
Okay, so we're going to review it again today.
Okay, awesome. I did some tweaks on the UI over the weekend, so hopefully that's going to be able to push it over.
Yeah. It should definitely be going because it seems like a great app. So.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. I presume just out of the block that Paul doesn't actually have any questions. Yeah. So John had a whole bunch of questions. They were mostly user questions, as I remember.
Yeah, probably so. I think one of my main questions is the integration of YouTube Remote and the YouTube app. It was, until very recently, based primarily on the old YouTube leanback interface. And they've been kind of taking some stabs at getting the tossing of content to and from the TV to your remote device a little bit better, but it's still pretty rough. And that seems to be a key point of better integration.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of raising the flag on that. There's all sorts of potential there, and doesn't seem like it's getting a lot of attention.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, you should probably, there's another Hangout that happens every week with the product management.
Okay.
And they're the ones to tell that to, and that would be Rishi Chandra or
Right.
AK or any of the product management folks. They're the ones to give that kind of feedback to.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to just read some questions, I think.
Okay.
And see what we get. Just because. Okay. So Chris is asking a couple questions. So the first is plans to enable NDK for Google TV. Don't hold your breath. My guess is that it won't be anytime soon. Part of the reason is that when we added Chrome, we changed some of the libraries, and so we're not in a compatible environment. We're working to get that fixed, but it'll be a bit. The other thing is, when are we coming to Canada? And I'm doing an event in Canada to prepare developers for Google TV. So if you're there and you're in Toronto, look through my stream, because I'm going to start inviting folks in a little bit, but there's still room. And I'm actually doing several events in Toronto, but that's the one we're putting up. Also, you mentioned YouTube. We're going to be doing a invite-only event at South by Southwest. And if you've got content on YouTube and you want to access it from an Android app, send me a note, and we'd be happy to talk to you. But you got to be at South by Southwest. Okay, that addresses the Canada, and so Chris also says he wants to learn to be a developer. So the place to do that is developers.google.com/TV.
Actually, there is another one which is not yet. When will the Google TV add-on be available for Windows or OS X?
Yeah.
From Graham. So that's unfortunately some misconception that I've heard on another forum where people were saying they can't develop for Google TV because they don't have a Linux machine. And unfortunately, I think this is because our emulator does not work on anything other than Linux. But what I usually say is for development itself, you just need a regular machine. Windows OS X is just fine. You need the Android SDK. The Google TV add-on really only gives you the emulator. If you are developing apps with the intention of putting them in market, you really need a hardware device anyways. I would like to see the one application that somebody has developed that they never tested on a real hardware device and then it actually worked flawlessly. So I think for, I want to say, getting your feet wet, playing around, the emulator is a great tool. Supplementing development, it gives you a nice way to test different screen resolutions, play around with, get some quick feedback. The emulator is useful. But for real development, you need at least one of the actual hardware devices.
Okay. Let's see. Then, will the source be available for people to start making homebrew versions of Google TV and standalone boxes? Surely that would do wonders for global proliferation. Discuss. That was from Magnus. Okay, so the Google TV fundamentals are open sourced. The problem is that Google TV consists of the Android open source project plus some private source that is not open sourceable, plus apps. And so what we're making available to, we're in the process of making some of the apps available to the OEMs who only want to have Android-only television sets. And they will be part of the standard Android app set that an OEM can pick up. Eventually, that's probably as much as I can say about that. You want to take the next one, Christian?
Sure. Which one is the next?
Ali Nadaf.
Let's see. One request. It seems that each week, either through the comments here or during the Hangout, a number of questions are raised that you or someone else on the side raised to look into. Unfortunately, it's very rare to hear anything back on those. Would it be possible for you to take some action items on yourself and your team first start with giving some updates on previous action items? Yeah. So basically more of a report stuff. Well, I think if you have some issues that really need that sort of tracking, best is to use our forums or use like Stack Overflow for technical questions. The Hangout, it's really more of a, I want to say, an informal thing. There is a lot of requests that we get from developers, which we raise at the appropriate times with our development team. So for example, when they come and they prioritize the next version, which features should go in, it's good for us if we can bring real-world examples. We can say, hey, if you enable feature X, be it layovers or like overlays on live TV, or be it things like NDK, here is the 5 killer apps that you will get for it. So it's not like immediate. It's not like, okay, next week we will tell you when we have NDK, but it's more like, okay, if we get asked from our team, hey, is anybody really actually caring about NDK, or how does NDK compare to other stuff, then we can give them the feedback and we can say, hey, we really hear this a lot from developers. It will make a big difference.
Also, the Google TV issue tracker launched last week.
Yeah, so I wanted to add that for some of the feature requests that are coming here, it's better to like log them in the issue tracker, and if it's already there, star it. So the more the number of stars it has, the higher the priority it will be. So
Yeah, everything at Google works on voting and feedback. So visit the issue tracker. What is the URL for that?
code.google.com/p/GoogleTV-issue.
So that's code.google.com/p/GoogleTV-issues. So real important. That's the best way to ask for features, report a bug, track a bug. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go to Leon because he's there. I've invited, by the way, the nice person from Google TV developers, so or Google TV friends. He hasn't yet shown up. Okay, Leon. So
Okay.
you've got a couple more questions.
Yeah, and a few more that isn't in your post. So regarding the fact that there isn't really SD storage on the current devices, are there any plans on using maybe USB to compensate for that, to kind of use that as a place for storing apps? And kind of moving forward, I mean, what, from a development point of view, are the platforms moving to a point that they will have SD card slots or increased storage for apps or not?
Most of the platforms actually do have some external storage. It's sort of simulated out of the existing format of FAT32, so a tiny drive. You will want to, you'll get the extra storage. So your apps can certainly use it. As far as putting apps on it, I have not tried, so I can't really comment about that.
Yeah, I couldn't figure that out because it doesn't seem to be like the phones where you could specify, use, SD storage for the apps. I didn't see that anywhere, at least from a user point of view. The point I'm trying to make is just that, it's quite limited at the moment. It's like, 500 and something meg to store all the apps, which, puts a limit on the number of apps, but also what the apps themselves can store within that internal storage. So if the app wanted to kind of cache or have some more local storage, that is quite limited at this stage.
Is that, I thought that it's different for different OEMs.
It looked the same to me,
Okay.
between the Logitech and the Sony. They look the same. So in terms of moving forward, is that kind of how it would be? It's not, you're not seeing, new platforms that have SD slots in it, for example.
Christian?
That's an OEM question. So from the boxes that we have today, no. I don't know what the plans are going forward. But I can imagine that USB storage is probably the more popular choice compared to...
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just that it seems the system isn't set up to kind of just flip to that or extend the internal one for the apps. Is that also an OEM choice? Is it not something that Google TV can say, if there is something, then the user can maybe, toggle that and say use that for storage, app storage?
Yeah. So I don't know what the plans are. It's another one of those features where we can raise it with the engineering team, but yeah, it has not been very high on the agenda right now.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm trying to add Google TV Friends who has a question. Let's see. Will has a couple of questions too, so we can go back to. Oh, and Will even wrote his from his developer partner. Do other developers or Google TV team recommend developing testing on the Android x86 platform? If so, is it possible to get TV resolution on an Android x86 VM under VirtualBox? I develop on an actual device myself, but that is part of the search for a better emulator. What I'd like your partner to do is write me.
Gotcha.
The fundamental rule of thumb is, write me. I almost said it. I'm not going to say it because I'm publishing these.
He's watching you right now, so he'll write to you.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I actually have a question for Will. So, Will, you posted that the market search shows apps which are not Google TV specific before applications that are Google TV specific in the market. Not quite sure what you mean with Google TV specific. So technically every app which does not require touchscreen shows up. Are you referring to apps which actually require the Google TV feature?
This might be a little bit outdated, but I know that within the last couple of weeks, I searched for apps, and they will install, and then once they start up, they will require portrait mode, which is not going to be supported on the Google TV. So that's mainly the ones that I've seen. If the other requirement that you speak of, I think, correctly blocks them, but I know that I've installed portrait-only apps, and then when I start the app, they don't. Obviously they're not going to work.
So that is actually one thing that we have changed in the market client for the next OTA version. So the market client will actually filter out apps which declare portrait mode. So there's two ways to require portrait mode. One is you can have it in the manifest explicitly declare. Those we can filter out, and then there's others who do it at runtime. Those we still can't filter out, unfortunately. But we are trying to limit the number of apps that show up and require portrait mode.
That's really good news. It's frustrating to see an app that comes above something that's specifically written for Google TV. So I'm glad you guys are working on it.
Yep.
Okay. Dustin writes, assuming I can read this properly, how do we submit an app for review? Just released one a few days ago. Any chance to get an example of how to hook the search API while watching live TV? I think most developers would love to see this. Okay, so let's talk about both of those. One is send us your package address. A good place to send it is Google TV-Android at googlegroups.com. Or if you have my email address, do that. But I'd much rather it come to the group email address. and we'll review it. And then the other thing Dustin was asking was the search API. So that's best if you actually join the Hangout and clarify what you're asking, because you can do, the search button is a global search for Google TV. It works while you're in a Hangout. It works while you're watching live TV. It works, it's global. It works everywhere. So but the user has to enable your app for search. So one thing you can do is on launch or include a menu item somewhere that says enable for search that brings up the preference pane that they have to click to enable that provider. But they have to do an explicit action to enable the search provider. And I think that's as far as I can answer questions on this.
Hey Les, can you restate that question again? I'm not sure if I heard it all, and I'm not sure if I might have something to add.
Okay. Sure. This was from Dustin. Excuse me. I was reading. Any chance to get an example of how to hook the search API while watching live TV? I think most developers would love to see this.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have anything yet.
Okay. We do have some search API sample code, don't we?
It's not public.
It's not published yet.
It was the self-suggestion sample code, and it was saved as the Android source sample code.
Okay, so look at the Android search provider sample code.
It's called the dictionary app on the Android sample code.
Dictionary app. Okay. Any other live questions?
Yeah, I've got a few more.
Okay. Let me put you up.
So I'm going to raise this again, and I did it last week, but the market app, the continuous issues with that. In fact, I've got a problem now. It happened to me with one of the apps, the NBA app, which is one of the system installed ones. It's stuck in a mode on all my devices where it keeps sending me a notification there's an update available, and every time I try it, I actually get different messages. Sometimes it says it's updating, but it's not really. Sometimes it's updating and showing a message, an error message, but it never gets to a point where it really updates. So it's stuck in that mode, and even a reboot of the box doesn't seem to fix that at all. So I'm just raising it again because I'm also hearing it from my users. They're still experiencing market-related issues.
Okay, so the update should have fixed some of that. Have you gotten an update?
No, not yet. I checked this morning. It's not on my device yet.
Okay. Feel free to send me an email with the MAC address of your device.
Okay.
Actually, wait till tomorrow.
Sure.
Wait till Friday. If you haven't gotten it by Friday, yeah, I can kick things to accelerate it, but in the middle of an OTA, I don't want to do that. So let's wait till Friday and see what happens. Okay, next.
The other issue is about, regarding some of the discussions we've had about how to categorize or feature an app like mine. Have you guys thought about it more, because of the multi-device issue?
I will bring Jen next week. She is off skiing, I think, which makes it difficult. But she's the one who can talk about it. I think we are planning to feature Able Remote.
Yep, it's on the works. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the process.
It's in the process of getting done.
So how would users find it? Would it just be in the featured list, or?
Okay, what happens when we feature is there are the hero apps.
Okay.
That have a banner and all that.
Oh, right at the top, yeah.
Yeah, they're right at the top. I'm not sure that'll make it, but definitely have one of those so that if we decide to do it, you're able to be there. Then there are the 7 apps that are below that. And then there are 50 or 60 staff picks that you click. And so that will be the next click. And that's what happens. And usually from that, that'll bump your numbers so that when you go into your categories, you'll start appearing very near the front in the category. So,
so you're not thinking of adding a new category, because currently I've got it in the generic tools category, which is kind of humongous, you know, in terms of what's in there.
No, at this point, our hands are kind of tied.
Okay.
Try to work within everything that Android has given us. It is not our place to influence that. That's a bigger train than us.
Okay.
One thing that Jen might be able to help you with is there is a Sony Select, and I believe there's something similar on Logitech.
Right.
Which is sort of the staff picks for those guys, for Sony. Maybe talk with some of their business development guys and point them to your app.
Yeah, Sony has a developer program.
Okay.
If you, it may be developers.sony.com, but if you just Google it, I'd recommend all of you that are developing should be a part of the program. Okay, let's see. Google TV Friends joined us, so hi. You have, oh, good. It unmuted you because I had muted you when you joined.
Okay. I just have a couple questions. One of them is mostly from users in my circle, friends, or whatever they are. In the market, I was just looking. You have Plenty of Fish, the dating service, which is featured for top 3 or whatever it is. That's fine. If you scroll through the social area down at the bottom, there's 2 guys, 2 developers, Fave Apps and Mad Appers. Within the last 2 weeks, they've put in over 75 applications for like booty calls and sexy singles, find sex in your area, and a lot of people don't think, they think that doesn't belong on the Google TV, especially that many apps in such a short time.
We'll look into it.
Okay.
It's in social?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And that's, like I said, that's within the last 2 weeks, that many apps showing up.
Yeah, obviously we're getting spammed. We haven't had to deal with this yet. But I can guarantee you we will have a conversation about it today. And beyond that, I can't tell you much. But, Google's general policy is one of not censoring.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Android has a secondary policy around that.
Yeah, it's like every day he throws out a new app with a new picture on it and just changes the name, so.
I will send a note to somewhere else also. Something will happen shortly.
You should also double check that they actually classified it properly as whatever, mature content or whatever it should be.
Yeah.
And the other question would be, within the market, can we get like you have top 3 books and references on, can we get a paid section, where a lot of the apps that you have to buy, they don't show up in the market unless you search for them. Because there's top free. Then there's, the featured, but there's nothing actually to buy it, to pay for an app. The one new app that just came out this week, I believe it doesn't show up because it costs $2.99. So you actually have to search for it in order to get it on the TV.
What's the name of the app?
Is it Twitter for TV or TV Tweets for Google TV?
I think I briefly reviewed that one, and it runs into portrait mode error.
So it's got issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
And that's it for me. You can mute me again. I'm just here to listen.
okay, cool. We're obviously not filling up today. Paul has just IM'd me the Sony developer link. It's www.sonydeveloper.com, which is migrating to developer.sony.com tonight. And there's also developer.sonyericsson.com. So, let's see, you now know about that. All right. Oh, we still have it there. All right. Why don't you read one, Christian, and then we'll go back to Leon.
I'll let you read one. I might answer it. I'm actually on my way to my next meeting there early.
Got it. All right. Cool. And Dustin got it. And okay. Any ETA on Adobe Air availability?
Don't hold your breath.
I think that pretty much.
I mean, I hate to say never, but it gets pretty close to it.
Yeah. Basically, Adobe has withdrawn support for it, and we have to do it. There's got to be a reason to do it. Really, yeah, we'll stay with Christians. Don't hold your breath. Okay, I think Leon and Will both have questions.
Okay.
So
run for my next
let's go with Leon, and then I'll go back to Will if he's got one. Thanks, Christian. We'll
Thank you.
see
Bye,
you.
guys.
Hi.
See you next
So
week.
actually, it's related to the previous question about how will Google TV handle parental control issues?
The door was closing, as you said.
Sorry. Parental controls on Google TV. What's the plan for that?
What kind of controls?
Parental controls.
Parental controls. Sorry.
Yes.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'm just getting feature requests.
No, well, there's TV and movies very much has parental controls in it. You can set settings to only show certain ratings. There are apps that do parental controls, but I don't know if you can lock out market.
Yeah, I was kind of imagining from a consumer point of view, they would probably want to go to like one screen and say, these are the controls I want you to enforce, and then somehow that'll be managed across the system and the apps.
A reasonable thing, and I see it on my phone, so we should eventually get it, but that would be a good thing to write as an issue.
Okay.
And
Okay, I'll do that.
all right. And I'll ask Will if he's got a question, then I'll probably just pop back between you two.
Yeah, my question, I'm not sure if you can answer it, but it's about the number of active users that are using Google TV. I know I linked...
I actually have a wrap for that.
All right, let's hear it.
So the first answer is Yes, I saw that post and I was like, oh, okay. I almost decided to lead with that, but it's good that it's now. Okay, so I can't give you any numbers today. Even if I had the numbers, I'd have to be reading them just to make sure they're accurate. But that's not the question you really want to be looking at right now. Google TV is still in the hockey stick portion of its growth. We've just added 3 major OEMs. One of our OEMs has announced that they are planning to go international to double-digit countries. I don't know if they've announced the number, so I'm not going to quote that either. But a double-digit number of country launch. And this year. So you can, if you'd like to estimate market size, which I'd rather didn't show up on blogs, look at downloads for apps,
Right.
including the installed apps.
Right.
And that might answer your numbers.
Yeah, that's kind of what this post actually says too. The pre-installed apps, look how many times they're downloaded. And it just seems like 500,000 to 1 million. That seems like such a huge number to me, but I don't know. It's a good number.
Okay. You know, it depends on how you compare to like phones, because phones are activating a huge number a day.
Right.
So, but that said, we're at the beginning of Google TV's growth cycle. When you look at developing, you want to ask yourself, where do I see myself in the market? And am I better off being in a tiny player in a huge market, or a bigger player in a smaller market, smaller but growing market?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you get your visibility? In Google TV right now is a great time to get visibility and build market share. Mega has pinged me a parental control thing. Perhaps she could put it into the stream.
So, right where everything that you have.
Okay. Yeah. But, okay, so anyway, you're in a growing market. So you have a chance to become a significant player in a growing market, and then use that to leverage into phones and tablets.
Right.
But that way you get significant visibility. Leon managed to get some real serious visibility the other couple weeks ago when the nice folks at
Geek.com.
Which one?
Geek.com.
Geek.com listed him as one of the top 5 apps to have for Google TV. And, you know, he may or may not have succeeded if he had been only a phone app. Right? So it's a developing market. And that's my wrap on that.
Got it.
Okay, I've got 4 posts to my thread, and then I'll go. We've got 9 minutes. Let's see. We have Mega has posted to the main thread about parental controls. Alexander has posted that Redux has got between 50 and 100,000 downloads. And he's Actually, Redux isn't a bundled app, so your idea is wrong. Yes, we will probably release an ARM emulator before the Vizio Sony launch. Or whatever Vizio, yeah, before any of the ARM boxes launch, Alexander. All right, who's next? Leon, I guess?
Yes. So moving forward from a developer point of view, should we be waiting for that Vizio box as kind of the platform to be concentrating on from a hardware point of view, or will there be something from Marvell that'll be maybe pre-release or developer-oriented box?
My guess is that I'll find out.
Okay.
The Vizio will be the box that comes out. The Marvell box is Vizio is the manufacturer or the distributor for Marvell, or one of them. There is going to be a wider separation of performance. So we announced 2 or 3 system-on-a-chip vendors. There's Marvell. There is Media. Okay. There's another one, and then LG is doing their own. It's like about out of hell. And my suspicion is Samsung will do something itself. So Marvell, okay, so they're all going to be different graphics performance and processor performance. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess related to that, it's kind of, would it be possible for us to get our hands on the hardware before they are released to consumers? That's basically what I'm asking.
I did understand that part of the question.
Okay.
That was the part I was not answering.
Okay, sure.
I don't know the answer to that. Right now, I do still have a whole lot of reviews. And so I'm trying to help developers get started on them. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
thanks.
where I'm at. Okay, we've got 5 minutes. Any burning questions, or I'll take the last couple on the list? Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay. I think I've answered everybody's questions. There is one last critter here. Alexander G is asking a question I don't know the answer to. And it's best to ask this kind of question when we're all in the room. But basically he's saying Qbot, his app, is failing to update on Google TV and some other devices. Users are getting a bad signing certificate error. I'm not sure what happens. Doesn't the market check the search and match when we upload a new APK? Ideally. It's also supposed to check to make sure that you don't use a debug certificate when you upload to market.
Yeah, I think it checks for that. That's one of the checks it does. It wouldn't even allow you to enable that. But
Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm not sure why.
Yeah, the thing, I've seen this error. This error is one of the errors I'm getting with the apps that have issues on the market app.
Okay.
One of many errors. But this is one I've seen personally, and then later it either resolves or doesn't resolve, or it goes to another error. So I suspect this is a market app issue.
When they're paid apps.
Yeah, these are all paid apps. Okay, well, we should get it into Bug Tracker.
Yeah. It would be nice to see if there's a log can.
Yeah, if we could get a log from the next time you get it, if you could do an ADB space bug report and pipe the output to a file and send it to any one of us, that would.
The bug tracker with the app name.
Yeah. And also, so ADB space bug report. Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Tell your friends. It's nice to have 5 people on the Hangout, but it's like we can have 10. We're broadcasting live. It's obvious that somebody's watching the live view, but anyway, I'd be happier with a bigger crowd or more questions. If I hate to invite any of the engineers when it's only really 2 or 3 people asking questions. So I'm going to keep it with just us for now. I will do another plug for my event in Toronto. Will, I got your note. Yeah, we'll invite you. And I'm also going to plug one more time my South by Southwest event. If you're interested, you need to write me, and I will send you an invite. And let's see, any others? Tonight at the GTUG in Silicon Valley, Paul Saxman will be talking, and that should be a good presentation. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Aloha.
Bye.
We have restored the server connection. That's lovely to hear. Not exactly sure